Leeds United have secured a new signing that could honestly, in my opinion, be hugely transformative to the way that we play. Now, for pure clarity and stuff, I'm currently streaming whilst I'm recording this. It was announced as I was like 20 minutes into a stream, and it seems like the perfect time to record a video. So we will hop into Questions Corner later on. But if you see me streaming at some point, pop along. Be much appreciated. But it has now been borderline confirmed, not by the club, but by a lot of journalists that know their stuff, that Leeds United have signed Manor Solomon. Again, this isn't an official thing yet, but he is set to confirm his signing tomorrow or today, depending on when you're watching this, Tuesday. And it has been confirmed by actual reliable sources. Example, David Ornstein, who honestly knows his stuff, will not tweet things out unless he actually knows the things, which is genuinely very good for us because it means that we've got this deal across the line. And in my opinion, this is an excellent deal, but we'll get into that in a little bit more detail later on. First, we need to discuss what exactly the deal looks like, all of the individual details that we are aware of at the moment, and primarily, the biggest cost that it will come to Leeds United looks like it will be in the form of wages. After all, that's what happens when you loan someone, and it looks like it will cost us across the year £2.5 million in wages. Now, if you were to approach someone and say, we're going to sign Manor Solomon, it's going to cost across the entire year £2.5 million, that's absolutely fantastic. That is a borderline bargain. In addition to that, I'm afraid to say that there is an unknown loan fee. We don't know the specifics around whether or not we will have to pay them a loan fee, but at the same time, I've not seen any discussion implying that there will be, and a hell of a lot of the time, loans just involve paying wages because clubs want to get players that aren't playing off their books, which helps, you know. In terms of what else the deal looks like, as far as we are aware, there is no sort of permanent clause in there for Leeds United. It looks purely like we'll be going into it, loaning him for a year without the option to buy or the obligation to buy in the event that we do get promoted. But then again, there is also the argument that we could potentially be looking at signing him next season. If we get promoted, he has a good season for us, that sort of stuff. Interestingly, I hadn't quite noticed this. His contract goes until 2028. For some reason, I thought it was 2026. I apologize for previous videos where I said 2026. I must have just misread. But aside from all that, it's important to know exactly how Manor Solomon plays because it's all good being like, well, fantastic, we've signed a new player, but what exactly does he do? Manor Solomon is a player that is a little bit of an enigma from time to time. I'm going to hop open SofaScore and then I'm going to share it with you guys just to give you a better idea of where he's tended to play in the past. So specifically, this is his heat map for the 22-23 season. This season, he was playing, I believe, at Fulham. He didn't play that much last season because it's Spurs and it's very, very tough to get on the pitch as a winger at Spurs. And he tends to play over on the left flank. However, having a look at other bits of heat map, I'm going to try and find the other ones that I was looking at. Ukrainian Premier League. I completely forgot he played in Ukraine. Yeah, in terms of like FIFA World Cup qualification stuff, he can play all over that left-hand side. He can play on the right, and he can fill in the 10 because he cuts inside anyway, which is sort of what we want to see. It's sort of what Somerville did. Ramazani plays in a similar way, but he can do both wings as well. Effectively, what it looks like we've done is we have built a genuinely fantastic line of three that plays behind a number 9. We have options such as Ramazani, we have Solomon, we have James, we have Nonto, we have Aronson, we have Piru from time to time. The fact that we need to pick 3 players out of that genuinely incredible stacked bunch of decent footballers is really good for us. It means we've got a lot of choices. But a question that a lot of people have is along the lines of, is he good enough? In my opinion, when it comes to pure skill and ability, yes, absolutely. He was a consistent player for Fulham. He played really well for Fulham when he was there, earning a move to Spurs. He didn't play much for Spurs last season, purely because, look at Spurs, you're not going to get in over Kulusevski or Son. Doesn't happen. The biggest concern that a lot of people have, and we need to consider, he's dropping down to the Championship when he's proven himself at Premier League level. The biggest concern that people have is around injuries. So I'm going to have a quick look at Transfermarkt. I know Transfermarkt always takes forever to load, so it might be a little bit of a problem when I'm trying to get to the data that I need. But having a quick dive into his injury history. Came to Fulham in the 22-23 season, in which he missed 17 matches. Last season, he missed everything from October until July with a meniscus injury. He's got legs that don't work all the time. And that's why I'm kind of glad we don't have an obligation to buy, because that would mean that we are just roped into spending a colossal fee on a player that might be a little bit broken when we get him. So it's fine that we are not necessarily signing him on a permanent deal. In terms of pure talent, excellent. In terms of longevity, that's where the questions come in. But that's why I'm happy that we have such a stacked lair sat behind Matteo Joseph or Pat Bamford or whoever you want to play at the 9. Because if he's injured, brilliant, we've got Ramazani. Or Aronson can fill in on the wing or play in the 10. And we've got James and we've got Nonto. With all that considered, I'm feeling a little bit okay about it. Which is good. It's good to feel okay about our transfers. However, whilst I feel okay about the transfers, it's good to find out what you guys think. So we are going to hop over to a segment that I do whenever I am doing a sort of recording live. We're going to head over to Questions Corner, where we're going to just get questions thrown in my general direction, and I will try and answer them. And if I can't answer them, then that's a shame. But we'll do a bunch of those, and then I will call the video in a few minutes once we are sorted. All the questions seem to be the same thing. Not an if, more of a when in terms of injuries. Always the same injury. Why do we go for Crocs and injury-prone players? That is because when you're looking at Premier League standard players that you can get in the Championship, there's always going to be something wrong with them, right? Because if you were able to get them in the Championship, clearly there's something stopping them from being picked up by a Premier League side. We don't really necessarily know if he'll get injured this season, but I think he's a good player to have as an option anyway, considering like he won't have to play every single week. He's not in a situation where we will have to overwork him and force him to play with injuries, because we've got decent depth in those positions. And that makes me feel a little bit okay about it, to be completely honest with you. Also, thank you, Pigeon Gang. Anyway, back to Questions Corner. Does the signing of Solomon and Ramazani signal an exit for Nonto? I don't think so. I think this is the replacements for Somerville and Rutter. Rutter, admittedly, very central player. Sure. But at the same time, Ramazani can do some stuff in the middle. Solomon can do some stuff in the middle. And it's not a case of we've just not done any replacing now. It's a place of, right, okay, Rutter, replaced. Somerville, replaced. If Nonto goes, I think we potentially fill in someone there as well. Because we do have a thin squad, and I don't think we can run the risk of going into a season with 3 wingers, one of them being Manor Solomon, who has a tendency to get a little bit injured, you know? Odd. Will there be issues in the fan base if we sign him due to his comments? I think a lot of fans will probably put that stuff to one side. I hope there's enough people that are in a spot where they understand that they don't necessarily understand that situation to the fullest. For a little bit of context, by the way, this is presumably referring to the Israel-Palestine conflict. I've got a master's degree in politics. One of the modules that I did was specializing in this conflict. And I recognize that I still don't know enough about that conflict to confidently have a swing at people when they, from either Israel or Palestine, make a statement. So I'm not going to be discussing it on this channel. At least sort of the behind-the-scenes aspects. I'll be discussing why I'm not covering it. But it's a spot where I think that it's not worth diving into because you don't necessarily know people's motivations for saying X, Y, or Z things, you know? Tough. Honestly, if we keep everyone up top now, we are scary. I agree. Yeah, I think we're looking really good at the top of the pitch if we keep everyone and if people stay fit. But it gives us options. It gives us flexibility. You know, we're a bit loosey-goosey. It's fun. He makes the squad no better. He definitely does. He adds depth at the very least. And it's quality depth as well. It's not like If we were in a situation where we're getting Jaden Anthony back, I'd be like, whereas doing it this way around is a little bit better, you know. What are your thoughts on the pedestrianisation of Norwich City Centre? I think pedestrianisation as a rule of thumb is quite good. But also, we're going to stick football related right now. So we'll cover one more questions in the questions corner chunk. So I will wait for the next question to come in. I know I've missed a couple, but that always happens. That's kind of natural. You know, you get used to it. It's okay. I do enough questions corners. Eventually, I will cover as many questions as I can, especially on more quiet streams. But I've just noticed there's about 400 of you here, which is terrifying. But thank you for popping in. Do you think Max Weber is going to go as the final question of Questions Corner? I am in a spot where I am going to say he'll do his best to, and Gladbach will do their best to get the job done. It's a question of whether or not they can pay enough of a fee. I'm absolutely certain that there is going to be more discussion around it, and he will potentially push for that move, but I wouldn't want to commit either way because it's really hard to predict. I'm going to say no, purely because we need a replacement centre-back / left-back in that case. We need another left-back anyway, let's be completely honest. But that was it for Questions Corner for now. For people that are currently in the stream, I'm going to keep streaming for a little bit after this, obviously. So stick around. But if you're watching on the video that is coming out in the morning, I hope you enjoyed. Like the video if you subscribed, like the stream if you're here. Subscribe if you're not yet, because that's always massively appreciated. I'm pushing towards 5k, and I know it's going to be a long push, but I hope we get there. You could even be a channel member if you fancy. You can get to see the videos that I record the night before, first thing in the morning, which is, yeah, I mean, you get to see them like 8 hours early, which is nice. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. Also, let me know what you think in the comments. That'd be nice. Toodaloo. Also, YouTube, Zach says hi. Everyone in the YouTube comments right now, just say hi, Zach. That'd be great. See you later.